There are places the world recognizes instantly, even when it does not truly understand them. The Vatican is one of those places. A dome, a square, white robes, marble, silence. But behind those familiar images stands something stranger, the smallest state on earth and one of the most influential. Many people think of the Vatican as a church. Others imagine it as a museum. Others think of it only as the Pope's home. In truth, it is all of these at once, and something more. Long before it became the center of Catholicism, this hill stood at the edge of ancient Rome. It was not first known for glory, but for graves, roads, and imperial spectacle. At the heart of the Vatican stands one of the oldest and most powerful traditions in Christianity, that St. Peter was buried here. According to Christian tradition, the apostle was martyred in Rome, and his grave became the reason this place would never again be ordinary. What began as a burial site on the edge of the city would become one of the most important destinations in the Christian world. In the 4th century, under Constantine, a basilica rose above this site. It was not the basilica the world sees today, but it fixed this ground forever in the geography of faith. For centuries, people came here not only to see a church, but to stand near what they believed was the resting place of Peter himself. But the old basilica would not last forever. In the 16th century, one of the greatest architectural projects in history began in its place. St. Peter's Basilica, as we know it, began in 1506, not as a simple church, but a statement in stone. It would take more than a century, many architects, and immense ambition to shape the basilica that now dominates the skyline of Rome. The Vatican did not grow only as a holy place. It also became a theater of patronage, memory, and power. Popes did not merely pray here, they commissioned, built, preserved, governed, and projected authority through stone, ritual, and art. That is part of what makes the Vatican so unusual. Belief here is inseparable from image, and image is inseparable from history. Inside the Vatican is one of the most famous ceilings on earth. People enter the Sistine Chapel expecting beauty. What they find is something closer to visual authority. The room does not simply invite admiration, it imposes silence. And when a pope must be chosen, this artistic masterpiece becomes one of the most secretive rooms in the world. The conclave is one of the most famous closed-door rituals on earth. Votes are cast, the doors remain closed, and the world waits outside. Then there is one of the Vatican's most recognizable images, the Swiss Guard. Colorful, ceremonial, and far more serious than many first imagine. But beneath the polished stone and the great dome lies another Vatican, quieter, older, and far less visible. Below St. Peter's Basilica is a necropolis, a city of the dead beneath one of the most important churches in the world. This is where faith, archaeology, and tradition meet in one of the most powerful claims in Christianity. For centuries, people have believed that St. Peter rests here. Not every detail is free from debate, but the power of the place does not depend on certainty alone. What matters is that for generations, the Vatican has been experienced not only as a seat of power, but as a place built over memory and martyrdom. And then there are the curiosities that make the Vatican feel almost impossible. It is the smallest independent state on earth, and yet it functions like a complete world in miniature. It has its own post office, gardens, radio, pharmacy, and security corps. Tiny in size, but remarkably full in function. And maybe that is part of its fascination. The Vatican feels at once like a shrine, a state, a museum, an archive, and a stage. What the world often misses is that the Vatican is not important only because it is Catholic. It matters because faith, politics, memory, ritual, art, and diplomacy all meet here at once.
It is a place where belief becomes architecture and architecture becomes influence. Tiny in territory, the Vatican still feels vast in the imagination of the world. Perhaps that is because so many centuries remain visible here at once. Empire, martyrdom, beauty, secrecy, ceremony, and authority still live side by side within these walls. The Vatican is not just a place people visit because it is famous. It is a place people visit because it feels like time, faith, power, beauty, and memory have all been pressed into stone. And that may be why this smallest of states still feels larger than the world around it.